I had a happy marriage, a thoughtful husband, and was the envy of everyone. Until the day my husband passed away. He held my hand and called my twin sister's name over and over again. That's when I found out I had merely been a substitute all along. Reborn in this life, Mom was holding 2 photos, asking me which marriage partner I'd choose. Daughter Milo Shing or Orion Shing? You like Orion Shing more, don't you? Everyone in Macau knew that Eleanor Yuan was madly in love with the eldest young master of the Shing family. In my past life for him she'd had an abortion, knelt on her knees and even had her uterus removed. No. I shook my head. I love Milo Shing. In this life, even if I could choose my true love, I would never be a substitute again. On the day the marriage alliance between the Yuan and Shing families was finalized, my sister came back to the country. She looked at my custom-made wedding dress shipped by air, crumbled under the blow and slit her wrists in a suicide attempt. That night, Orion Shing stood me up for the dinner with my family. Yet my sister posted an update late at night. You said I'm your eternal love, that you'd never let go once you held my hand. The picture was of her and Orion Shing, their fingers intertwined. Overnight, I became the laughingstock of the entire city. Everyone said the Yuan family's backup daughter had finally chased a man down, only to have him sneak off to cheat on her right before their engagement party. A pathetic, spineless wretch through and through. I laughed off the vicious comments online. That dinner was meant to discuss my marriage to Milo Shing in the first place. As for Orion Shing, a random nobody, his presence didn't matter at all. I kept preparing for my wedding, but Orion Shing suddenly showed up at my door, furious. Eleanor Yuan, get over here. You've got some nerve. Getting the Shing family to agree to the alliance without my permission. You really went to great lengths to have me. But do you have any idea that Mabel Yuan almost died because of this? My expression remained calm. Don't worry, my sister won't die. And I never wanted to have you anyway. Mabel Yuan's so-called suicide last night was nothing more than a tiny cut with an eyebrow razor, the kind that would heal on its own before she even got to the hospital. My overly calm demeanor only made Orion Shing angrier. His friends sneered and cursed at me. Eleanor Yuan, are you even human? Sowing discord at a time like this. Don't think we don't know, you're only doing this to get young Master Yu's attention. A woman like you who uses underhanded tricks to get a man, isn't even worth a strand of your sister's hair. You don't deserve young Master Yu at all. Orion Shing's eyes turned red too. Eleanor Yuan, get to the hospital right now and apologize to her, and I might just forgive you. But don't you dare dream that I'll marry you because you don't deserve it. I almost laughed in anger. I don't need your forgiveness. I'm not marrying you anyway. For a moment the furious crowd fell silent, as if they'd just heard the funniest joke in the world. Laughter filled the wedding hall. Eleanor Yuan, stop pretending to be a cold ice goddess. Everyone in the city knows you're just a backup. You've chased our young Master Yu for 7 whole years, he's practically sick of you. Now you say you won't marry him? If you really had the guts, I'd live stream myself defecating on the street. Orion Shing preened under the flattery, a look of satisfaction on his face. He leaned in and lowered his voice. Eleanor Yuan, everyone else might not see through you, but I do. In our past life I only said I didn't like kids and you got a uterine sterilization for me. Is there any woman in the world more worthless than you? You love me so much, how could you possibly live without me? Those words. He'd been reborn too. I stared at him in shock. But Orion Shing misread my expression, his face oozing with arrogance. Don't worry. As long as you don't get in the way of me pursuing Mabel Yuan, and if you behave yourself, I'll let you be my secret woman. But don't you dare expect me to spend much time with you. That wouldn't be fair to Mabel. I thought he was out of his mind. Orion Shing let out a triumphant cold laugh. You secretly had the wedding venue all decorated and you say you're not marrying me? The entire venue was decked out in a crisp, clean blue and white color scheme. A stark contrast to Orion Shing, who'd always lived a life of extreme luxury and debauchery. Orion Shing was too busy gloating to notice the oddity of it all. On his birthday, someone at the party asked him how he tamed a cold, aloof young lady like me. He scoffed, a look of disdain on his face. Eleanor Yuan, aloof? Don't make me laugh. She loves me so much she'd do anything to please me. I tell her to go east, she doesn't dare go west. Do you believe me when I say she'd even kneel for me if I asked? The crowd hooted and flattered him. Young Master Yu is a true role model for us men. Yeah. So what if she's the Ruan family's daughter? She's as obedient as a dog in young Master Yu's hands. I pushed the door open and walked in, but the laughter and jeers didn't stop. Instead, they grew even louder and more ostentatious. Hey, speak of the devil, and she appears. Young Master Yu, why don't you show us your power right here and now? Orion Xing hadn't even said a word when my sister looked flustered. She was sitting on his lap with Orion Xing's arm wrapped around her waist. She bit her lip and stood up in a panic. Eleanor, don't get me wrong. There's nothing between your brother-in-law and me. It's just that I'm on my period today and he was afraid the sofa would be too cold for me. Orion Xing tightened his grip on her waist, his voice gentle. Why are you afraid of her? You've always been the one I love. Then he shot me a provocative glance. Eleanor Ruan, don't push your luck. Don't think that just because my family agreed to the alliance, you can barge in here and check up on me. You don't have the right. If it weren't for this face of yours that's 70% like Mabel's, do you think I'd have put up with you until now? Yes. Then guess why I stayed by your side in our past life. Don't worry. I don't care about your business. You two have fun. I'd come because Mom had asked me to keep an eye on my sister, afraid she'd do something outrageous again. It had nothing to do with him. Perhaps he hadn't seen the angry confrontation or the pathetic submission he'd expected from me. My indifference only made Orion Xing's face darken. After a long silence, he let out a cold snort. Good that you know your place. You'd better stay this sensible from now on. Just then the people who'd taunted me about kneeling earlier started hooting again. I heard back in the day when a man took a concubine, she had to kneel and offer tea to her husband and his legal wife. Young Master Yu's heart belongs to Miss Chong, so that makes Eleanor Ruan the concubine. Hurry up. It's young Master Yu's birthday today. Eleanor Ruan, kneel and toast him at once. Orion Xing's friends had always made a joke out of me, because that's exactly how Orion Xing treated me. At that moment he held my sister in his arms, his face full of haughtiness. How about it? Kneel and toast me and your sister, and I'll let bygones be bygones about you driving Mabel to suicide. The crowd clapped and cheered, and someone even pulled out a camera. If these photos got out, it would be a scandal for the Ruan family that would shake the entire city. Orion Xing was certain I'd kneel. I met his gaze and curled my lips into a smile. I'm sorry, but my bones are too stiff to kneel. I can't stand being in such a filthy place. I'm leaving. With those words I turned and walked out. Behind me Xing Yu's face turned pitch black with rage. Wan Wei, dare to take one step out of this room, and see if I don't make sure you can't even be my secret woman anymore. Ridiculous. As if I'd ever agreed to be that. That night a mutual friend said Orion Xing was furious and waiting for me to go and coax him. I turned off my phone at once and kept checking the wedding guest list. 4 days on end I broke my usual habit and didn't contact him at all. Instead, Orion Xing sent someone to deliver a bank card to me. He called and said, Eleanor Ruan, have I been spoiling you too much lately? Your young lady temper is getting more and more unbearable. Alright, take the card and stop throwing a fit. Keep this up and I'll break up with you. Was Orion Xing out of his mind? We'd never even started a relationship, so how could he talk about breaking up? I ignored him, but my phone vibrated and a video of my sister flaunting her wealth popped up on the screen. In the video was a villa in a wealthy neighborhood worth over 100 million. 3 limited edition luxury sports cars. The caption read, "A man's love is where his money is. Another day wrapped in love." The video casually revealed Orion Xing's profile. The bank card he'd given me probably couldn't even buy a single car tire. But I didn't care who he loved. I liked the post and commented, "So happy for you, wish you two stay together forever." Soon after, a private message from my sister popped up. "My dear sister, you're jealous, aren't you? Don't think that just because we've been reborn, you can steal him from me." So my sister had been reborn too. In my past life she died early with no time to run amok and cause trouble. But even before she died she'd killed the man I loved the most. I was about to fire off an angry question when Orion Xing suddenly showed up at my house and blocked the door. "Eleanor Ruan, that's enough. What did you mean by that comment on your moments? It's all your fault for running your mouth. Mabel didn't even eat dinner last night because of you." He was about to hurl a few more insults when he looked up and saw the wedding invitations and red double happiness characters spread out in my room. Disgust flickered in his eyes. quickly replaced by smugness. Eleanor Juan, I didn't know you loved me this desperately. You know full well I'm going to marry your sister, yet you're decorating a bridal room for yourself. Are you fantasizing about being my bride? You're such a desperate Klingon. Crazy. I didn't even bother to reply, just turned and walked out the door. After an entire week, the wedding banquet venue was finally ready. It was held at my own villa. I wanted Milo Xing to see this surprise as soon as he returned to the country. Mom was helping me prepare my dowry, sighing with emotion. Milo Xing is the head of the Xing family now. The Ruan family isn't his best choice for an alliance. I never thought he'd agree so readily. I smiled and said nothing, but my heart ached sharply. In this life, I would not let there be any missed chances or regrets between us. But on the day before he was due back, an unexpected turn of events happened. At 3:30 in the morning, my sister Mabel Ruan hit the news hot search. The reason? She'd organized a wild party with a crowd, and was suspected of taking drugs and gambling. And the venue was none other than the villa complex I'd prepared as my bridal home. The wedding I'd waited for 2 lifetimes was tainted before it even began. In the footage, Mabel Ruan was wearing my wedding dress, holding a bottle of champagne and spraying it all over the place. The custom picture frames I'd carefully picked out were smashed to pieces. The pure white flower wall was covered in messy paint. Even in the living room there were leftover empty boxes of contraceptives. And before the incident she'd posted an update. Haha, I have a doryman. No venue for a party, and my dear brother-in-law sorted it out for me right away. It was Orion Xing who'd taken them there. How dare he? I sped to the villa complex in my car. Orion Xing and my sister had just finished and were getting dressed unhurriedly. The bed I'd prepared for my wedding night with Milo Xing was crumpled, filthy, covered in sickening stains. Mabel Ruan's lace lingerie was scattered across the pillows. She slipped on a dress then, her face all innocent. Sorry, sister. I was just tired from partying and lay on the bed with your brother-in-law to rest for a bit. Nothing happened between us. You won't mind, will you? I lifted my eyes to her and slapped her hard across the face. I couldn't care less if you and Orion Xing dig your own graves. But this is my bridal house. How dare you break in and dirty it? Mabel Ruan screamed from the slap, tears streaming down her face as she cowered behind Orion Xing. My anger still unquenched, I raised my hand to strike again. But Orion Xing kicked me hard to the ground. Eleanor Ruan, you've gone too far. So what if Mabel slept in your bridal room? It's an honor for you. Besides, you spent all this time decorating this bridal house just for me to use it anyway. If that's the case, I call the shots on this house and this wedding bed. This house is a dowry from my mother. Mabel Ruan has no right to touch it, and you have even less. Orion Xing let out a cold laugh. Cut the crap. Your dowry will all be mine anyway. You love me so much, would you ever marry another man besides me? Orion Xing spoke with unshakable confidence, then suddenly changed his tone. My uncle will be back tomorrow. He has the final say in the Xing family. I'll beg him to let me marry Mabel and call off our engagement. You need to say a few good words for Mabel in front of him too. Do you hear me? If you help me get this done, I'll let the slap you gave Mabel Ruan slide today. And I'll even let you be my mistress from now on. I would go to the Xing family tomorrow, but it had nothing to do with them. My eyes cut through the two of them like a blade. Orion Xing, listen to me clearly. I am going to enter a marriage alliance, but it has nothing to do with you. And I never agreed to be your mistress. If you dare spout such nonsense again, I'll sue you for defamation. With those words, I turned and strode away without a backward glance. Orion Xing's handsome face turned as black as pitch with rage. He wanted to chase after me and shout insults, but my unwavering resolve filled him with an inexplicable unease. Before he could think any more, Mabel Ruan huddled in his arms, trembling like a leaf. What do we do? Sister looks really angry. Maybe I should go apologize to her. No need. Orion Xing's face darkened. I've just spoiled her too much. A woman who can't even recognize her own place deserves to be left in the cold. The news blazed on overnight. Orion Xing and Mabel Ruan's personal accounts were bombarded with insults until they crashed. What a pair of shameless lovers. Eleanor Ruan chased him for 7 years, and at the last minute, he cheats on his fiancée with her own sister. In my opinion, that Mabel Ruan is no good either. Word on the street is she's into the BDSM scene, and she's a total wild child. This Eleanor Ruan is such a doormat. She let the bird fly even when it was in her hand. She deserves to not be able to keep a man. As the online furor escalated, Orion Shing simply went with the flow and publicized his relationship with Mabel Ruan, intending to force the Shing family to accept her as their daughter-in-law. But Mabel Ruan's promiscuous lifestyle had been common knowledge in high society since her school days. The Shing family would never take such a woman as their daughter-in-law. When I saw his post, I immediately released an announcement. The Ruan family's marriage alliance is with me, but the Shing family member is not Orion Shing. Please do not misunderstand. As for my sister and young Master Yu's relationship, I respect it and wish them well. My clarification went viral in an instant. Orion Shing called me in a fit of rage. Eleanor Ruan, why are you adding fuel to the fire at a time like this? Don't think you can force me to marry you by doing this. I never realized how jealous you are. Delete that post at once. If this messes up the alliance between our two families, the consequences will be more than either of us can bear. Naturally, I did not delete it. So when Orion Shing saw me at the welcome dinner the Shing family held for Milo Shing that night, his face turned green with fury. He scowled, about to snap at me, until his eyes fell on the wedding band on my hand, and a smug smile tugged at his lips despite himself. You keep saying you won't marry me, yet you've already bought the engagement ring. Women are all the same, so cheap. The more I ignore you, the more you throw yourself at me. Fine, hand it over. But I'll only wear it for a while. If you talk me up to Mabel later, I'll agree to wear it for a few more days. I quickly pulled my hand away. Get lost. It's not for you. I stepped back, and only then did he notice I was sitting in the side seat reserved for his uncle, a spot for the uncle's family. It had always been empty before since Milo Shing had no family, but now it was not. Orion Shing frowned, reaching out to yank me up. How dare you sit here without knowing who this seat is for? Get up at once. If you offend my uncle, I'll dump you for good. You're my woman, you should sit over here. Let go. I struggled, annoyed. Suddenly, a tall, straight figure approached, his voice laced with amusement. She's your woman? How come I didn't know my wife had become yours? The man walked toward me through the light, his well-tailored suit accentuating his tall, handsome frame. Flickering light cast shadows across his face, his eyes twinkling with a playful glint, his emotions unreadable. We hadn't seen each other in years, and he was even more mature and handsome than I remembered. I'd seen him on TV news and financial reports, but having him stand right in front of me felt utterly surreal. Milo Shing walked into the dining room and our eyes met across the space. His obsidian black eyes lit up in an instant, making my heart race just like he used to look at me in those early years, the look that always flustered me. I fell into a daze, but Milo Shing smiled teasingly. Wife, we aren't married yet. Looking at me like that will make it hard for me to control myself. His tone was full of mischief. My cheeks flushed red at once. This man, he was even more smooth-tongued than in my past life. Orion Shing watched us flirt as if no one else was there, his face turning an ugly shade of purple. He strode over, forcing a smile. Uncle, Eleanor is my fiancée. Please don't tease her like this. It'll make people misunderstand. Then he immediately scowled, glaring at me fiercely. Eleanor Ruan, when did you hook up with my uncle behind my back? What's going on between you two? He thought he'd lowered his voice enough, but Milo Shing heard every word. He raised his hand to wrap around my shoulders, taking the men's wedding band from my hand and slipping it onto his own ring finger in one smooth motion. It fit perfectly, like it was made for him. Milo Shing tilted his chin up, looking at the stunned Orion Shing, his lips curving into a playful smile. Good nephew, tell me, what's the relationship between Eleanor and me? Hurry up. Don't you dare call her anything but auntie. What? Orion Shing's eyes flew open, his face a mask of disbelief. I'm the one who's supposed to form the alliance with the Ruan family. It was me in the past life, so why? No, it's impossible. This can't be happening. Orion Shing swayed unsteadily, rambling incoherently. Suddenly, he lowered his eyes as if something had occurred to him and jerked his head up to look at me. He was about to speak when the sound of laughter and chatter came from upstairs. The Shing family was coming down. And as the future son-in-law of the Ruan family, the entire Ruan clan had turned up for the welcome dinner too, including Mabel Ruan. But no one at the dinner wanted anything to do with her or with Orion Shing. After all, they had just brought immense shame to both families. Mabel Ruan was no stranger to scandal and had never cared about such things, but for some reason she'd looked pale ever since she walked in. Especially when she saw Milo Shing patiently trimming the fat off a lamb chop for me, her face turned as black as an unwashed pot bottom. Throughout the entire dinner, Milo Shing juggled chatting with the elders and piling food onto my plate non-stop. In the end, I was so full I could barely move and I pushed away the crab he offered me yet again. Stop it. I'm about to burst. The elders watched us exchange loving glances, smiled at each other and chuckled. The head of the Shing family lifted his teacup, sighing with emotion. Before the alliance was settled, I was worried Eleanor would be bullied by Milo Shing after marrying in. After all, they'd barely met and didn't know each other well. But looking at them today, they're like an old married couple who's been together for years. Everyone at the table hastened to agree. Milo Shing and I locked eyes amid the bustle, our thoughts unspoken. We'd waited 2 lifetimes for this day. We really were like an old married couple. After the welcome dinner, I started visiting the Shing family frequently, mostly just to see Milo Shing more. In my past life, he'd left me before I ever got the chance to realize how much he loved me. It was a regret I'd spent my whole life wanting to make up for. One day, Milo Shing was on a call in his study and I was walking in the garden alone. Orion Shing appeared out of nowhere. Once obsessed with his appearance and always immaculate, he now had a faint stubble on his face, looking haggard. He advanced toward me in a rage step by step. Eleanor Ruan. What the hell is going on? Why is it my uncle you're forming the marriage alliance with? Did the Ruan family look down on me for not being as powerful and influential as my uncle so they forced you to choose him? Eleanor Ruan. I thought you loved me more than anything. I never thought you wouldn't even fight for me. You've disappointed me so much. Orion Shing was truly insane. Where did he get the audacity to think I still loved him to this day? When I said nothing, he mistook my silence for guilt and his tone softened at once, turning gentle. Eleanor, I know you don't love my uncle. He's arrogant and domineering and he has no idea how to cherish a woman. He's nothing compared to me. Why don't you go beg the head of the Shing family? If you ask him, he'll definitely change the alliance to me. After all, the family only announced the alliance to the public, they never said it was with my uncle. It's not too late, it's definitely not too late. The more he spoke, the more convinced he was it would work, his eyes lighting up with hope. Finally, as if he could wait no longer, he lunged forward, grabbed my arm and dragged me toward the head of the family's study. He was crazy but I was not. Orion Shing, let go of me. Wake up. I never said I was going to marry you from the very start. Why are you so stubbornly delusional? Aren't you and Mabel Ruan better off without me in the way? I struggled as I tried to reason with him, thinking my words were plain and clear. But Orion Shing suddenly turned to me, his eyes red, and shouted in a fit of paranoia, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. You loved me so much in the past life. You'd do anything degrading for me, and now in this life you say you won't marry me just like that. How could you be so cruel? I stared at his eyebrows and eyes, which bore a faint resemblance to Milo Shing's. When he flew into a rage, his features twisted into something hideous and feral. Nothing like the man I loved. I spoke flatly, because you look like him. What did you say? His voice trembled. Since things had come to this, I might as well lay everything bare. I met his agonized eyes head-on, every word sharp and clear. Orion Shing, listen to me carefully. In my past life, in this life, for all eternity, there has only ever been one person I love, and that is Milo Shing. And you? You were nothing more than a substitute I found after losing the love of my life in my past life. Orion Shing's hand slipped. I quickly pulled away from him. But he suddenly grabbed my shoulders and shook me like a madman, his eyes bloodshot with rage. You're lying. Lying. You and Uncle clearly never had any contact. How could you have fallen in love with him? I was the one who was always by your side. Crash. A powerful fist came swinging at him, cutting through the air. Nephew, didn't I tell you what you're supposed to call her? Milo Shing rotated his wrist slightly, his gaze cold and condescending, an overwhelming aura of menace and pressure washing over everything. Orion Shing was sent sprawling to the ground by the punch, spitting out a mouthful of blood as he turned his head. Unwilling to submit, he ground his teeth and refused to speak the words. Milo Xing was in no hurry, merely raising an eyebrow. He spoke slowly. Oh, it seems the chief executive of the Xing family has a rather poor memory. I can't leave the company in the hands of someone like that, now can I? With that he pulled out his phone, ready to call a board meeting and fire Orion Xing from his post. Orion Xing's face stiffened. He hung his head and forced the words out through gritted teeth. Auntie. There's a good nephew. Milo Xing squatted down, raising his hand to pat Orion Xing's cold cheek. Remember this. From now on, show your aunt the respect she deserves. If something like today ever happens again, you know exactly what my temper is like. Milo Xing's tone was light, but Orion Xing shrank back into himself as if overcome with terror. Milo Xing wrapped an arm around me and led me back to the room. Ever since that welcome dinner, he'd taken to being physically close to me every second of the day. I thought back to his quick, clean punch just now, a flash of memory crossing my mind, the upright, solemn look he'd had all those years ago in his police uniform. Looking at him, I suddenly smiled. Chairman Xing's kept in good shape. After all these years, you still haven't lost the skills you had as a cop. Milo Xing shot me a sidelong glance. Wrong. These are the skills I used to protect a certain little crybaby. Little crybaby. It was a nickname Milo Xing had given me a lifetime ago. Back then, the happiest moment of every day for me was catching sight of his figure waiting outside the school gate after class. That night I had a dream. I was the lost daughter of the Ruan family. The year I was born, due to a hospital's negligence, I was stolen by a childless rural couple. They regretted not stealing the right baby, that they'd taken a girl. But unable to have children of their own, they gritted their teeth and raised me anyway. My foster parents were cruel to me. My foster father was a drunkard, my foster mother a gambler. Neither had a steady job. When they had no money, they resorted to theft and robbery. I was often in class when the police came to tell me my parents had been arrested again. For an elementary school student, I'd long since gone from panic to numbness. My classmates would say, Eleanor Ruan's parents are thieves, so she must be a thief too. Beat the thief. Beat the thief. I spent 6 years of elementary school in an endless cycle of school bullying. They poured cold water on me in winter, filled my lunchbox with mud during nap time, tore up my homework, tricked me into drinking dishwater by telling me it was imported juice, saying they'd stop bullying me if I did. I could no longer tell the difference between the world of the living and hell. In junior high, I got into a key school. My foster mother and father were released from prison too. Their addictions had only grown worse. One gambled with borrowed money, the other took drugs. When they had no money, they stole the tuition fees I'd earned from part-time jobs, until I had not a single cent left on me. Then they hatched a plan to sell me. That day, my foster father grabbed me by the hair and dragged me from one end of the street to the other. He was going to sell me to a foot massage parlor. I screamed and begged for help, but everyone just stood by and watched, their eyes filled with pity or amusement. Not a single person willing to lift a finger to save me. As my foster father haggled with the man who wanted to buy me, my heart died completely. Then he appeared, the teenage Milo Xing. He kicked my foster father to the ground, beat him until his face was covered in blood, and broke 3 of his ribs. I stared at him in a daze, forgetting even to breathe. My face turned bright red. After finishing the man off, Milo Xing lifted his chin and saw me, a reckless smile on his lips. Little crybaby, let's go. I was the lost, suffering daughter of the Ruan family. And he was a young master forced into exile by the infighting of his clan. I'd fed him when he was injured in a fight and lying half dead on the ground, and called the police for him. Now this young wolf had come to repay his debt. Before Milo Xing's college entrance exams, he said he wanted to be a cop. I was confused. I thought your dream was to study finance and business. He tugged at his lips in a smile, raising his hand to ruffle my hair. You dummy. I have to be a cop to send all those bad people who bullied you to jail in broad daylight, little crybaby. Later he really got into the police academy. But the day he came to find me with his admission notice, the Ruan family had gotten to me first, taking me back with no explanation. The companion I'd leaned on for survival in my youth, we'd missed each other just like that. When we met again, he was already the powerful eldest young master of the Xing family. I woke up from the dream, clutching Milo Xing's hand tightly. He gently wiped away my tears, his expression filled with a rare anxiety. What's wrong? I buried my face in his chest. It's so good. I didn't lose you in this life. I would never let go of Milo Xing again. But there were still people who refused to leave me alone. Our wedding hadn't happened yet, but word somehow got to Orion Xing that Milo Xing and I had gotten our marriage certificate and often spent the nights together. He showed up at my doorstep, a broken man. He'd brought all the gifts I'd ever given him. Clothes, shoes, a watch, perfume, a tie. He said, "Eleanor, we had so many happy times together once. You can't just throw me away like this, like you're throwing away these things. You broke my heart. Don't you have to take responsibility for that? Eleanor, stop making up lies about being a substitute just to get my attention. I forgive you. Come back to me." His voice was filled with entreaty. But I just laughed in anger. "Orion Xing, do I need to remind you? Our wedding is in a week. I'm going to be your aunt soon. According to the Xing family rules for disrespecting your elder and accosting her, I have every right to punish you." Orion Xing's face drained of color bit by bit. "Eleanor, don't talk to me like this. It hurts. I won't ask you to be my mistress anymore, okay? I'll let you be my girlfriend, He was truly beyond redemption. I called the servants over at once, and had all the things he'd brought burned to ashes in one go. Orion Xing fought desperately to save them, but the bodyguards held him back, not letting him take a single step closer. His eyes turned red with rage. "Eleanor Wan, how could you be so cruel? These are all the beautiful memories we made over the years. How could you?" I frowned and cut him off calmly. "Then take a good look. Is there a single one of these gifts I gave you that you ever actually liked?" Orion Xing froze. Gradually his struggles and shouts died down. Because he knew the truth, he'd hated every single one of these things. Every time I'd given him something, he'd complained about it. After all, I'd only ever bought things according to Milo Xing's tastes. He'd never been in my heart, not for a single moment. Orion Xing finally accepted the truth that he'd only ever been a substitute. But acceptance didn't mean he could bear it. He descended into debauchery, spending his days in bars drinking, racing cars and chasing after women. Bit by bit he stopped caring about Mabel Ruan too. And Mabel Ruan had a fierce personality. Her usual docility and obedience were all an act. When she saw how wildly Orion Xing was living, she couldn't hold back her temper any longer. The two of them finally had a falling out, screaming at each other until they came to blows. It all ended in an ugly mess and they broke up for good. The day before our wedding, the Ruan family came to me in a panic. "Eleanor, it's terrible. Your sister's going to kill herself." In my past life she'd said the same thing, that she was in a bad mood and wanted to die. She'd gone racing on a mountain road in a rainstorm in the middle of the night, parking her car right on the edge of a cliff. She'd taken a photo and sent it to Milo Xing. "If you don't come, I'll jump." Milo Xing hadn't been a cop anymore after returning to his family, but the sense of duty he'd once had still drove him to venture out into the night to find her. In the end, no one knew what had happened between them on the cliff edge. The next day, all that was left were 2 totaled cars at the bottom of the cliff, and 2 charred corpses, burned to ashes in the car explosion after the fall. As I relived those memories, my hands and feet turned cold. I rushed out to find Mabel Ruan in my car at once. This time she wasn't at the cliff. She was standing on the top floor of the Xing Group building, her body swaying unsteadily on the edge. My mother was crying hoarsely. "Mabel, come down at once. I'm too old for this. Don't scare your mother like this, okay?" Mabel Ruan stood on the edge, unmoved. Until she saw me. "I have something to say to my sister. All of you leave first or I'll jump." This. My mother and father exchanged a look, hesitation written all over their faces. They all knew how hostile Mabel Ruan was to me. Leaving the 2 of us alone on the rooftop, they feared that in the blink of an eye, it would be me pushed off the edge by Mabel Ruan. Seeing that my parents refused to leave, Mabel Ruan let out a cold laugh. "So it's true. In your hearts, my life isn't even as important as my sister's." She put on a heartbroken expression, making as if to step one leg over the edge. My mother saw this and nearly fainted from fright. She quickly agreed, her voice urgent. As she was led away by the others, she didn't forget to whisper a warning to me to be careful. I nodded, reassuring her. In just a few minutes, the vast rooftop was empty except for my sister and me. She immediately pulled her leg back from the edge and charged at me, her eyes bloodshot with rage. "Eleanor Ruan, you're so ruthless. We're blood sisters. Why do you have to steal everything that's mine?" You stole my parents' love, stole the title of Wan family's daughter, stole Orion Xing, who loved me more than his own life. Why won't you even leave Milo Xing for me now? He's the man I love the most in this world. Love the most. I let out a sneer. So this is what your love looks like. When you found out he loved me, you dragged him down to die with you in your past life, didn't you? Mabel Ruan ground her teeth. If I can't have him, neither can you. Another madman. Mabel Ruan, have you ever stopped to think that you don't love Milo Xing at all? You only love yourself. You live for the feeling of being the center of attention, and you take it for granted that everyone should revolve around you. Milo Xing has no feelings for you, yet he likes me, the one you look down on. It's nothing but resentment and jealousy eating at you. Even sleeping with Orion Xing, you only did that because you thought he was my fiancé at the time, didn't you? When it all came down to it, she was the one trying to steal what had always been mine. Not that I ever wanted Orion Xing anyway. You're lying. You're lying. Mabel Ruan shrieked, her composure shattered, her bloodshot eyes glaring at me. Milo Xing loves me. Orion Xing loves me too. Before you showed up, they were both mine. Why didn't you just die out there? Why did you have to be found and brought back? My sister's screams echoed across the empty rooftop, carried away by the wind. Her words left me speechless. When I'd first been brought back to the Ruan family, my sister had screamed and cursed at me just like this. It hadn't been long after I came home to the Ruans when my birthday rolled around. My sister and I were twins, so we shared the same birthday. Mom and Dad, probably feeling guilty about how I'd grown up, bought me an extra diamond necklace. Mabel Ruan had broken down crying, splashing hot milk all over my face, yelling that I'd stolen her parents from her. I'd been utterly at a loss. She was the one they'd raised by their side all those years. Even though they felt guilty about me, their love for her ran deeper. So at first they turned a blind eye to all her petty little tricks. That was until she'd knowingly added a large amount of coconut juice to my drink, even though she knew I was deathly allergic to it, leaving me on the brink of anaphylactic shock. After that, Mom and Dad's disappointment in her only grew. Seeing that her tactics couldn't win back our parents' love, my sister had resorted to reckless acts, sneaking off to bars, dyeing her hair, dating around, and keeping inappropriate relationships with countless boys. She'd wanted their attention, but instead she'd broken their hearts completely. Meanwhile, I'd scored first place in the provincial college entrance exam and gotten into the most prestigious university in the country. Our parents had seen a new hope in me, and their doting had slowly shifted to me. My sister's hostility toward me had become impossible to hide. Even when Milo Xing and I reunited later, she'd meddled in our relationship, making me believe that Milo Xing was in love with her. In my past life, if Milo Xing's lawyer hadn't come to me after his death, telling me he'd left all his inheritance to me, if I hadn't seen the sketches tucked inside his will, every single one of me, the misunderstanding between us might have lingered into this life too. Pulling myself back to the present, I noticed a fruit knife in my sister's hand, one I hadn't seen before. She screamed and lunged at me. Eleanor Ruan, you're the one who ruined everything for me. If it weren't for you, I'd never have ended up like this. Eleanor Ruan, you're the one who deserves to die. Why won't you just die? Her knife was aimed straight at my throat, thrusting toward me. My eyes widened in shock and I twisted my body to dodge, but a figure suddenly stepped in front of me, blocking my view. Orion Xing had appeared out of nowhere, throwing himself between us. Eleanor, watch out. A dull thud. The knife sank deep into his back, blood blooming across his shirt in a crimson thing. Orion Xing crumpled to the ground in agony. Mabel Ruan's eyes were completely bloodshot now. Furious that she'd failed to kill me, she yanked the knife out and lunged at me once more. Dare to touch her? You're the one who deserves to die. Milo Xing, who'd rushed over at the sound of the commotion, wrapped an arm around me and pulled me out of harm's way. He snapped out a leg in a sharp, swift kick, sending Mabel Ruan flying across the rooftop. Eleanor, my daughter, are you okay? The rooftop door burst open and my parents, along with a swarm of police officers, flooded in. They quickly restrained Mabel Ruan, who was still thrashing and screaming like a madwoman. I paid her no mind. My eyes were only for Milo Xing standing in front of me. I reached out, my hands patting frantically all over his body. That was so dangerous. Are you hurt? Did the knife graze you anywhere? Milo Xing smiled, catching my wandering hands in his. Don't worry. In this life, unless you ask me to die, nothing will. I clapped a hand over his mouth at once, stopping him from finishing the unlucky words. Milo Xing understood my fears, pulling me gently into his arms. Eleanor. In this life, no one can ruin our wedding ever again.